Secret Mom Hacks, episode number 88. My name is Krista, and I'm your host. It's October 9th, 2024, and as we're on the cusp of the often dizzying holiday season, I thought now would be an opportune time for us to talk about delegation. Now, I'll admit, I am no expert on this. It's definitely an area I'm working on, and I know I'm not alone in that, which is why Christine Landis, founder of Peacock Parent, is joining us today for an insightful conversation about buying more time, delegating, and more. She's a parent of two and the former CEO of a global financial technology company, so she knows a thing or two about efficiency and time management. Not only is she a pro at streamlining work, but she's also a mom who deeply understands the unique struggles parents face when it comes to juggling family life. On today's episode, she's sharing practical, actionable strategies to help us all buy back some precious time, whether that's optimizing our daily routines, getting better at delegating, or letting go of what doesn't serve us. Trust me, if you've ever wished for a few more hours in the day, this episode is for you. But before we get into that, I just want to say thanks for tuning in, Mama. I started this podcast because babies don't come with instructions. As of this recording, I am chasing around a 6-year-old that no amount of Googling, mom groups, or books were able to prepare me for. There's a lot of stuff people don't talk about when it comes to pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, postpartum. And as someone who was previously terrified of all of the above, I'm here to help you pull back the curtain on all of it. And every now and then, it may get a little messy. We may share a little TMI, but that's why you're here, right? My goal is you'll leave every episode feeling refreshed, inspired, and hopeful, knowing you're not on this mom journey alone. Now, there's a lot of subject matter to cover when it comes to mom life, and we are covering it all. If you're not following this podcast yet, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. Now, grab a coffee, take a deep breath, and let's dive into this inspiring conversation with Christine Landis of Peacock Parent. I am so thrilled to have you here on Secret Mom Hacks today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we met at Mom 2.0.
Me too. I love that event. I've had the pleasure to meet amazing folks like Christine at this awesome event. I'm planning to go to the next one. Where is it? Orlando?
Yep, Orlando. I already bought my ticket, everything. I was
Yay!
hesitant. I was like,
Awesome.
oh my gosh, it's another cross-country venture, but it was worth it. I got so much out of it. And truly, like meeting you and being
Same.
here and having these conversations, that's why we're all doing it.
Yes, absolutely. It really does. That event fills my cup so much. So excited for our conversation today, Christine. I'd love for you to share just a brief birth story. You have two kiddos, right?
Yes, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Okay, yes. So however much or little you care to share, that would be great.
I think the lesson of motherhood, which is you're not in control, it came to me quick when I was pregnant because I had to have a C-section and with my 5-year-old who is a boy, and he was breached. He was breached the whole time, did not move from that position. And I was 37 when I had him. And I very much in my plan, in my mind, thought, oh, I'm going to have Irish twins. Like I'm going to go back to back and I'm going to just do this thing and we will be out of diapers and it'll just be so much easier. And so I had a whole plan. And it was one of those where they had the option of like, do you move and do you do all that? And I chose not to. And it was the first, I think, intuition moment for me as a new mom of kind of going, wow, like I just have to trust that this is where he thinks he should be. And this is not my choice right now. And yeah. And then had the C-section and it was great. And it was fine. And it was just how it was meant to be.
Amen. I too. So this is another point where you and I relate. I had to have a C-section. My daughter was also breech, and I've done episodes on this too, turning the breech baby and what to do and self-care with all of that. But it truly is that moment of realization of like, you can only control so
Mm-hmm.
much. Was your son breech still like, and that's so you had to schedule the C-section or was
Yep.
it an emergency?
Scheduled the C-section. And then this is actually, I'm like just kind of remembering this. I went into labor the night before my scheduled C-section. So I was like, "Really? How is this happening?" So I feel like in some way I got kind of the, I don't know, movie experience of like, "Oh my gosh, like my water didn't break, but like I had started having the contraction and everything." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess we have to go to the hospital." And but it was just like ridiculous that because it was 24 hours before the scheduled, my doctor wasn't there. I had to have somebody else. And it all again worked out. But then my 3-year-old, I did have her as a C-section as well, and just again chose not. I know you could do the VBAC and all that jazz, but that just wasn't of interest to me. And again, I just think at that point I'd learned like this is just the way it is for me. This was not my choice, and it is now. I have this scar that is a part of my body, and that's just life.
Same. Same. C-section scar sisters.
Mhm.
Yes.
I do remember
Well,
telling the doctor though very clearly with like epidural and everything of just like or like all the last minute just sitting there in the hospital before bed before they wheel me in being like, "Can you please make sure for bikinis that it's as low as possible?" And like that was still important to me in that moment, which is just funny to me now because it's like I don't know, I just think as women we're still so aware of our bodies up to the last second.
it's true. It is true. Well, as the CEO of Peacock Parent, you provide valuable guidance to parents striving to be more efficient and present parents, which raising my hand right here. Naturally, I've read up on you, but our listener may not be familiar. So, will you share with us what inspired you to start Peacock Parenting and your mission behind it?
So, Peacock Parent, I'm a former CEO and I just was accustomed to really always striving for efficiencies, reaching goals, building teams, knowing that I can't do it all in the business world. And so I think for me, it just felt very natural to apply that same logic to parenting, where especially as a new parent and expecting mom, like I don't know anything about sleep training. I mean, building my own registry I thought was laughable. I'm like, how am I supposed to know what swaddle or sleep sack or what magic suit I'm supposed to be putting on my registry when I know nothing about this concept? So I think the first realization was okay, building your team at home. Why aren't we doing that? Why is that only something that's accepted in the workplace? But yet, in the family we use terms like village, but it's like why can't it just be a team? Why can't you hire that team if it's possible for you? And the other area that I think inspired me was this value of time, the concept that again in work and in business we say time is money, but then why are we not more aware of that as parents and especially as mothers? That was a real kick in the ass moment for me when I had the baby, and it was just assumed that my role and my job at that point was to be available at all times and that there was practically zero needs on my part that were taken into consideration. And I just that didn't sit well with me, and I think that's really at the end of the day been the inspiration is trying to help other parents run their home like a business and really prioritize joy and assign a value to it. Let's put a price tag on that for you. If for you you don't want to have to read through 3 books about sleep training and try to watch the YouTubes or take the course or whatever it may be, then let's find the expert for you and let's source and vet is really what I think we've brought to the table. These different services that can help you save time. And I look at it as buying time in the form of delegation. And just like again we do at work, why don't we do this more at home and free up both parents to spend more quality time together? That's what I've really learned through this process is that everyone has a different form of joy. So it's not just the value of your time that's important to consider, but it's that opportunity cost of like, what are you missing out on? What is this draining your energy or maybe that mental load, the dread that you're feeling of this one task? It's like, okay, well then let's get that off your plate. And I know there's a ton of fair play method that I think is absolutely wonderful about how to divvy up those responsibilities between two partners. And I think my take is really adding this kind of third part of the equation of like, and how can we also kind of outsource and delegate to a team member so that both partners aren't bartering over time? Let's try to spend all that time together instead of trying to trade off waking
Mhm.
up in the morning. Maybe it is that, hey, we've decided it brings us a lot of joy to one day a week be able to sleep in, and that we are going to invest in a weekend sitter that we're going to take the time to train and expose the kids to and get everyone comfortable with it. And let's have this person come from 6 a.m. until 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And that's something every Saturday we're going to do for ourselves as a family because we're going to show up better and more present and happier.
I love that concept. I think that's brilliant. Time is a precious resource, as we're discussing. What are some of the ways Peacock Parent helps parents get more time back in their busy schedules?
Delegation is the key to really a lot of what I talk about. Getting comfortable really with, I guess, removing the shoulds. It's not a direct hack as far as it's a mindset in a way of like, just because you're available, just because you're capable, it doesn't mean you're the one that has to do it. And really finding that person that yes, you can trust that can do the job. And it's not just thinking of a nanny for childcare, but what are the all the other things in our entire household, in our entire family life that we need help with? And coming from, I think, that place of like, how can I show up and how can I help my entire family? And that's kind of the starting point of, I think, defining the value of your time, the value of your joy, and getting comfortable with delegating. I think asking yourself at the end of the day, does this bring me joy? Am I doing this because I feel obligated? Am I doing this because I feel like this is what a mom is supposed to do? My best example I always give is I'm not a huge fan of bath time. It's not my jam. And I know that, like, from movies and even advertisements in the world, like, that's supposed to be the most maternal moment of washing your new baby's skin and like covering them with a towel and hugging them. And it's it's just not my thing. The hugs, I don't mind. And I actually do swoop in right after. And I love getting them ready in their pajamas. And I love sitting there and doing our books together. But the actual bath time and getting them clean, it just isn't my thing. And I think getting honest with yourself about that and really asking yourself, is there someone who can do this better, more efficiently? That's the key of blending those two kind of questions about the joy and then what does that other source look like and how do I delegate to them more properly?
Mhm. And I have to share, I have, of course, I've poked around on your website and I love your blog because you share some great resources over there. And even that we're obviously in two different parts of the country. I'm coming to you from Middle Tennessee. You're coming to us from California,
Yep,
right?
San Diego,
Yes.
California.
Yes, San Diego. Okay. But just because I'm a mom over here, that doesn't mean I can't get lots of great ideas and tips and resources from her blog post because a lot of the things that you're sharing are things that I have access to here. Or maybe say that company is regional to you, there might be something comparable in my area. And so, one thing in particular is like mani pedi services. I have done mobile pedicures before. It's actually been a while since I've done that, but that's so smart. It's so brilliant. I am not a fan of dealing with now we don't have traffic like you do necessarily. At least in my suburb. In Nashville might be comparable, but where I am traffic it can be manageable, but just driving across town sometimes to get a pedicure or whatever it is. I mean, sometimes that's an extra hour in your day round trip
Mhm.
on top of just having the service performed. So when you can have somebody come to you, and especially say if I invite my mom over and we get one together or my husband and getting our daughter in on it, like if we all did that together, like that's also just a fun family activity we can do together and we've saved ourselves the commute. So I love the resources that you're sharing on your blog. Our listeners should definitely go check those out.
Thank you,
We'll
and we
include
do.
links in the show notes.
Thank you. We do try to source nationwide services, and we do have preferred pricing. That's part of what we're trying to bring to the table is like sourcing the best and then vetting them to make sure, okay, are they actually the best? And then trying to put together a package price that's better and just different than you would find anywhere else, including direct from the service. So a little bit of an incentive to kind of check us out. And I love that you do the mobile services because, to your point, it's not just the time of driving or the traffic, it's the rushing. That's that opportunity cost that, like, I'm trying to really get people to be aware of like, are you stressed out because you're worrying about running out the door? Did you have to get ready really quick? Like, how much time did you prep transitioning with the kids out the door? Because now they know you're leaving and when you're coming back. And it just, what was that load and what did that do for you? Was it great? Maybe some people want to kind of escape and get the hell out of there. And that's great. Go for it. Then don't do the mobile. But it's just something to consider. And then if that is a better option for you, then hey, we have some ideas.
Sure. Technology, as we know, can be a double edged sword. So, how do you advise parents to leverage technology to enhance our parenting efficiency while also ensuring that we can remain present with our kiddos?
Oh gosh. So It's so hard because my initial instinct is like, just don't have your phone around your kids. Like, just truly put it in a different room. 'Cause it's too damn easy to grab that thing. Its job is to distract you. So, like, truly that would be my, I guess, number 1 advice. And it's easier to do when you focus on quality time with your kids and you don't get too obsessed with the quantity of, like, I need to spend this many hours with them a day in order to be a good parent. It's like, if you are there 100% focused, present, giving it your all, they're gonna feel that so much more, even if it's 30 minutes without any distractions, than if you were there for 2 hours kind of sittervising with your phone doing tasks. So that's one thought. The other, I'd say technology wise, there's an awesome app called Time for Persist that I love. They're one of our partners. They're all about really helping you as partners assess your load, and they ask like a series of questions that go through how much, really helping you understand like how much time are you spending in each of these areas of your life. And then they can give you an actual graph and like understanding of, okay, well, this is how much partner A is doing versus partner B, and this is how much that's flexible versus consistent or frequent. And so it's a really nice way to start a conversation with your partner. And they also provide coaching services. They have actual persistence, they call them, that can actually do some outsourcing for you. So it's a really cool tool, I think, that's totally available because of the technology and some of the AI we have today, that is helping these especially expectant and like new parents that are just like, whoa, what just happened to us? Helping them to start those conversations with a little bit more data, because I have a guide that's all about how to start conversations with your partner about hiring help. But the key to one of my pieces of advice is that you treat it like a business meeting. Come with data, come with information. It's too hard to just start with, I need help, because your partner doesn't know what that means if they're not in it every day with you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about self care. We kind of dabbled in for just a minute talking about mani pedis and them coming to us versus us going to them. But we know self care is crucial for parents to maintain well being and to just be effective caregivers. So, how do you help moms and dads find time for self care amidst our busy schedules? And what self care practices do you advocate for?
So I define self-care as anything that gives you time back. So it's really giving you truly that control over how you're going to spend that time. And for everyone, it's something different. For me, it's adult coloring. I'm obsessed with adult coloring, and I never once thought I would be. I feel like I'm in AA being like, "Hi, my name is Christine. I'm obsessed with adult coloring," and it's like kind of embarrassing, but it's truly so meditative, and I love it. And it is like my way of decompressing and just doing something that brings me joy, because I really, these mandalas that I'm obsessed with. Anyways, I love doing hatha yoga. It's very stretchy. I'm not trying to burn calories. I'm not doing like some hot core yoga class. I'm just trying to kind of center myself and focus on me. And I do that twice a week. My husband gets the kids up. They come down and say hi to me while I'm doing it, since I do it at my house. And of course, have someone come to me. So I'm not rushing around. I think therapy, honestly, is a form of self care in my book. But napping, I also nap. I'm a daytime napper. I never used to be when I was in the corporate world, probably for more obvious reasons. But now that I'm in this founder startup phase, I have a little more flexibility. And when I just pay attention to my body, and that feels like such a gift. The couple others I'd say when it comes to actual delegation of self care, like getting back to that bath time example, where I'm willing to pay our nanny to stay an extra hour so that she can do the bath after dinner. So not only has she prepped the meal for me, so I can just be sitting with the kids and enjoying us all at the counter together instead of busy behind the counter, if you will, making and kind of feeling like a prep chef. And then she takes them up, gets them clean, and then texts me when they're ready. And I come upstairs and I take over. And that's a form of self-care for me, because I get like 20, 25 minutes of downtime. Sometimes it's my husband and I kind of catching up. Sometimes it's coloring, whatever it may be.
I love that you bring up adult coloring because I have dabbled in it just a little bit. And I feel like it had a hot moment for a hot second. And then not many people are talking about it, or maybe they are and I'm just missing it. I don't know. But you're the first person in a long time who's brought it up. And I love it. And you might have just inspired me to pull mine out and my colors. And maybe when my daughter goes to bed later, I'll give that a crack. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm telling the glitter pens are what do it for me. Like it looks so, like shiny and shimmery, and like, and I it's just, yeah, it's a whole thing, and it's addicting, and that's all there is to
That's
it.
That's fun. Yes, it is. It is. And I loved coloring as a kid. So, okay, let's talk about delegation. How and we've talked about it a little bit so far. How do you encourage and support parents with delegating these tasks? I like what you mentioned about the data and going through that. I believe it was a quiz. I think that's so helpful. But how do you encourage and support parents with delegating these tasks, sharing these responsibilities within the household? Even maybe it's not just between you and your partner, but with the kiddos too, because hey, especially once they can walk and they can talk, like they can move things, they can be helpful, and I think the earlier we can start with them, the better. But that's definitely going to create that more balanced family dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a guide that we have. It's free to download, 99 tasks to delegate today. And one of the reason I bring it up is because it truly walks you through all this. You don't have to just listen to me over and over again say how great delegation is, but it talks about again the importance of identifying what brings you joy or not. So do you like this task or do you not? Because there's some things that people love doing. They love going to the grocery store. Again, for me, I am an Amazon Fresh Whole Foods girl. We're like that I don't need to go to the grocery store unless it's for 10 items or less. And then I will happily go with my little girl and have her use the customer and training cart. And that like is a joyful moment because it's not like carrying 3, 4, 5 bags and trying to hold her at the same time and open car doors. And that's not my happy place. But as far as the key is to first, I think, identify what you like and don't like about the things you have to do. So whether you use my list or not that I came up with of all the different kind of tasks in a house, or you create your own, with your partner, it's really first about getting honest about that question. So it's less about just right away trying to sort that into a pile. I think that's where the Fair Play does a great job of having these cards and trying to split those up in an equitable way. But I think one of the key pieces missing there is like, what do you like? What do you not like? What are you best at? And then more importantly, what else can we just completely remove from our plate? And one of those things like packing, like with the kids and incorporating them. So packing for a trip, we have our nanny pack the kids for a trip every single time. And since they're young enough, they're there with her while she's doing it. And so she's helping them say, okay, can you grab the socks for me? We need 3 of them and like show me 3 socks. And so there's educational opportunities in that. And then most importantly with delegation, there needs to be repeatable processes. So there's an entire packing list that we have so that every time we know we're not reinventing the wheel of trying to come up with what do we need to do. I don't have to talk it through with her every single time. There's even sections for if it's cold weather or hot weather. So it just takes a lot of that decisioning out of it. I'd say the last thing with delegation that I think is really important that people miss, and it's again, I just go back to whatever you would do at your job for a new hire, you need to do in your home. So when you bring this person in, sure, they probably have experience, especially if it's a service that does this for a living repetitively in a very like specific niche area, but you still need to train them in some way. And that may be just they need to get to know your personality a little bit. Maybe it's just going over basics of how you want communication. Are you a texter? Are you an emailer? You want direct phone call? But especially for someone like a nanny or a family assistant in your home or housekeeper, you need to take that day, block it off your calendar, the full 4 hours, maybe it's a full day. Don't try to do both and be like half kind of checking in remotely on your phone and doing it all. It's like just focus on showing them around. If they're going to go grocery shopping for you, take them to the grocery store with you. Show them the brands that you like so they can take pictures of them so they can really build up a knowledge base.
That's a good dipping your toe in for those who maybe aren't their initial inclination is to not be a delegator and to take it all on. I think that's a good first step. And they can come to your site to learn more and to get that 99 things you can delegate today. That's awesome. What's something no one told you about being a mom?
The lack of control and freedom of time that you would have to fight so hard to reclaim it. And I think mom guilt was definitely discussed for sure before I became a mom that people are like, "Oh, you're going to have it and just wait." And I thought that's bullshit. Like, no, I won't. And of course you do. And again that just comes from those shoulds a bit. And I think some of that is never going to go away as far as you're always going to have this duality that you're fighting of being, I think, a mother and also a whole person, and let alone if you're working or not, and all those things, and a wife and daughter and blah, blah, blah. But I think the other that really surprised me was how friendships can change. That there's different parenting styles. And especially for me, like if I value my time so very different. And so I think it's hard when you see someone else that's a friend that maybe they're complaining about something being really hard or taking too much time. And then you're like, oh, but there's this resource. Why don't you try that? Or, hey, like you could try this way. But in the parenting world, it's really hard to give each other advice. And there's definitely this line of respect of going, okay, well, if you can do it your way and that's no problem. But again, when it's your really close friend that this is the first time you guys have found yourself kind of at odds a little bit of not doing something the same way or not approaching something the same way. And I think when it gets something down to something so personal, and for me, like the value of your time, it's it's interesting when you're like, man, you're kind of feeling like a martyr a little bit. And it's like that's a little bit of a choice at some point in my book. And I think that is it's an option to try to get out of that phase. You don't have to stay in it forever. And so long way of saying it changes things a little bit.
Changes things a lot, right? Let's just say it. It changes things a lot, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. How do you keep it all together?
Mm. Oh my gosh. So let's see. I can list out my two family assistants. They started as nannies and they became family assistants, personal chef, a housekeeper, a yoga instructor who comes to my house, a personal trainer that comes to my house, a travel agent that helps book everything and think through everything for when we travel, my therapist. I should probably just thank her. I feel like I'm in a speech right now being like, "Thank you everyone," and accepting my award or something.
This
But
is your
but
team.
yes, this is my team,
It's your
absolutely.
team.
And that's truly how, and I know that ironically my husband's not mentioned in that, but it's a given. Like we are the founding members of this team. So it's all the people that are supporting both of us. And that's really the key to it is just everyone you're hiring, anyone that you delegate to, any service that you say, "Hey, this is worth it. I'm going to invest in this." Because it supports the entire family and it's not selfish. Really, that's the ultimate self-care.
What did I not ask you that you wish I would have?
Oh, let's see. I think because your program is based on what hacks, I think the best hack for any family, regardless of expecting new or busy, is hiring a virtual family assistant. I think in a perfect world, someone who is a family assistant in your home 40 hours a week, don't get me wrong, that's ideal. Even a 20-hour a week just is great. But that's not something we can all do. And so there are still options though that are incredibly reasonable. There's Time for Persist, I mentioned. They have persistence that are $40 an hour that you can pay. I think it's a 2-hour minimum you have to commit to. So technically, I'd think of it as an $80 investment. But they can make doctor's appointments for you. They can fill out school paperwork. I mean, they can do anything that you can do from a computer. And not just that you can do, but also that your partner does. And whether it's again for you personally, for them, for the kids, and there's another company I love called Duckbill. It's $99 a month for them. There's a wonderful service called Sundays, and they do more of a remote, virtual, like personalized assistant. And that's more again through Peacock Parent. It's only a 2-hour minimum. Typically it's 10 hours a month that they require, but that's where someone's going to get to know your family, almost kind of serve as a house manager kind of role and help keep you up to date. But that's my hack of delegation in a nutshell of this concept of a family assistant is missing, I believe, in our lives. Again, we have the executive assistant at work and we need one at home too.
I 100% agree. I love this. And I'm so happy. I love podcasting so much because it easily documents all of these things so that when I go back and listen to it, I can be like, yes, I've got to look up these things she mentioned. And I know our listeners are going to do the same. Which, speaking of, what closing message do you have for our listener?
Value your time. And not just the dollars and cents of how much you make divided by 2080 or something. It's just starting to think about how do you want to enjoy your life today and really investing in your now. And that what is this good life that we all want to live look like to you? And instead of trying to hope for something to get better or think that it will get better with a certain age or a certain time, try to start making small changes today that can shift that. And it might be through delegation, maybe it's through something else, and that's wonderful. But just to really think about the value of again your time and most importantly your joy.
Well, that's a wrap for today's conversation with Christine. If you enjoyed our chat, make sure you check out her website, peacockparent.com. You can find links to her site along with her socials in today's show notes over at secretmomhacks.com/episode 88. I'm curious what your favorite part of our interview was. I hope you're walking away inspired with tips either for yourself or that new mom you know. If that's the case, please follow me on your favorite podcast platform if you haven't already. Give me a 5-star rating and leave a review sharing your favorite takeaway so far. You can do all of that by going to ratethispodcast.com/secretmomhacks. Don't forget to stop by secretmomhacks.com where you can find resources and enter your email address so every new show is delivered straight to your inbox. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and until then, you've got this, mama.